I never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. For 3 years, I worked at what I believed was a stable, professional company. I was reliable, never late, never missed deadlines, and regularly took on extra work when others couldn't be bothered. My manager, however, was a different story. From the moment she joined our department, something felt off. She played favorites openly, took credit for other people's work, and had a habit of throwing employees under the bus whenever something went wrong. At first, I stayed quiet. I believed that if I just worked hard and stayed professional, things would eventually improve. I was wrong. It started with small things. My ideas were ignored in meetings, then suddenly reappeared a week later, presented as her ideas. I noticed my name being left off project summaries I had written myself. When I politely brought this up, she laughed and said, "Don't be so sensitive. That's how teamwork works." Things escalated quickly after that. She began criticizing my work publicly during meetings, even when there were no issues. She sent passive-aggressive emails late at night, copying upper management, questioning my performance. The strangest part: my performance reviews were still excellent. I had written proof that I was doing my job well, yet her behavior toward me kept getting worse. Then came the incident. One Friday afternoon, she called me into her office and accused me of missing a major deadline. She said my mistake had put the company at risk and that HR would be involved. I was stunned. Not only had I met the deadline, but I also had emails proving it. I calmly showed her the documentation. She barely glanced at it. Instead, she said, "Well, let HR decide." That Monday, I was called into an HR meeting. I walked in confident, carrying a folder full of emails, timestamps, project logs, and performance reviews. I assumed this would be resolved in minutes. I was very, very wrong. HR listened to my manager speak first. She painted me as unreliable, defensive, and difficult to work with. She claimed multiple team members had complained about me. HR nodded sympathetically. When it was my turn, I presented my evidence. I showed clear timestamps proving deadlines were met. I pointed out inconsistencies in her claims. I even referenced my spotless performance reviews. HR's response: they told me that while my evidence was interesting, they trusted management's judgment more. Then came the sentence I'll never forget. "Sometimes it's not about facts. It's about fit." HR sided with her. They placed me on a performance improvement plan. For something I didn't do. I left that meeting humiliated, angry, and honestly scared. A pip is usually the beginning of the end. For a few days, I considered quitting. Then I realized something. If they were going to build a case against me, I would build one too, but properly. From that day on, I documented everything. Every email. Every meeting. Every comment. Every deadline. I stopped communicating verbally and requested everything in writing. When my manager criticized me, I politely asked for clarification via email. When she gave vague instructions, I asked for detailed confirmation. She didn't realize she was creating a paper trail that would destroy her. Over the next 2 months, I noticed something alarming. She was altering reports after submission. She was missing deadlines herself. She was blaming her mistakes on subordinates, including me. I cross-checked files. I saved metadata. I archived email threads. Then, purely by accident, I discovered something even bigger. She had been falsifying performance data to make her department look more efficient. And HR had no idea. I didn't go to HR immediately. Instead, I waited. During my PIP review meeting, HR once again sided with her. They said I had failed to demonstrate sufficient improvement. That's when I calmly said, "I'd like to submit additional documentation." I handed them a USB drive and a printed summary. Inside was Proof of falsified reports, email chains showing deadline manipulation, evidence of her taking credit for others' work, records of her violating company compliance policies. The room went silent. HR asked where I got this information. I replied, from company systems. Fully accessible. Fully logged. The meeting ended early. 2 days later, I was called back in. This time, my manager wasn't there. HR apologized. They said they were launching a formal investigation. Within 3 weeks, everything changed. My PIP was removed. My record was cleared. I was reassigned to a different team. And my manager? She was placed on administrative leave. A month later, she was terminated. Turns out, I wasn't the only one documenting her behavior. Once the investigation started, multiple employees came forward. HR had sided with her because it was easier. They underestimated me because I stayed quiet. Now here is the part that surprised me the most. 6 months later, HR offered me a promotion. They said my professionalism during a challenging situation showed leadership qualities. I accepted. Not because I loved the company, but because I won. HR sided against me. And it was the worst mistake they ever